What's going on, y'all? Chuck Nunface, Microtech, standard issue, original goat scales on the knife. Pretty sweet. So they did arrive on Friday. Today is Monday, the 6th of May, 2024. Took a while for them to come in. Kind of already documented all that, but overall, I'm very pleased with the quality of the scales. Excellent fit, excellent finish. Not a problem getting everything fitted up onto the knife. It was a problem kind of taking the knife apart. More on that in a minute. But anyway, yeah. So this is what they look like. This is kind of the standard. I think it's the Stocky Goat version 2, something like that. And so it's almost like a Microtech factory milling pattern on there. It's very similar to what you would see. These are coated in their matte black. I forget the name of the actual Cerakote color, but it is more of a matte black. They had that, and they had more of a glossy black finish. This is the matte. And I wanted to go with that color because I had the two-tone blade. So I thought the color would look good on that as well. And it does. It doesn't disappoint. If you're not doing so, I certainly would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. There's a little button there in the corner. Make it super easy for you. If you have subscribed, I certainly do appreciate that. But go ahead and drop me a comment too. Let me know what you think about how it looks when it's all completed. I mean, it almost looks like it's factory. Like it's a factory Microtech standard issue. Just with aluminum scales, which one viewer said that they originally came out with aluminum scales on these when they first released the MSI, but I did just some quick research on Google, and I couldn't find anything that indicated they had aluminum, so maybe they're right, maybe I'm right, I'm not sure. But in any case, I don't need to get too in the weeds on that. It absolutely changes the feel of the knife from the polymer scales. It absolutely changes the way it feels. The balance is way better in the hand. This is the way that Microtech should be offering these. I'm sure G10 is fine, but they're aluminum. Aluminum's a material that I've really kind of come around to, and Microtech's the company that kind of changed my opinion on aluminum. I always knew the OTFs. It was just standard fare to have the chassis in aluminum for 99% of the OTFs on the market, with a few exceptions that might use titanium or some cheapies that might use stainless steel. So I always knew that, aluminum was pretty standard for out the fronts. And I always kind of looked down on aluminum in a manual knife or a side opening knife, simply because I was like, well, there's titanium out there. Why aren't we using that? And while obviously titanium is fantastic. Most of my knives are titanium frame locks. But I have really come around to aluminum as a material. It's nice and lightweight. It's got nice acoustics, which maybe is a funny thing to kind of like, but I like the feel of aluminum. I'm a fan of it. I think it's durable enough. I don't think it's gonna be any problems as far from a strength standpoint. I mean, we have guns that are aluminum framed and everything else, pistols that are aluminum framed. I mean, I don't really see a problem with aluminum being used as a material for a knife scale. Now, your mileage may vary. You may just have preferences that are different than mine, but I have really come around on aluminum, so I dig them a lot. A couple of differences from stock that you may notice is on the stock scales, there's much more a scalloped cutout and more of a swell right here as opposed to being all flat. That is an option on Original Goat's site, that you can do that and have it mirror what Microtech does from the factory. However, I did opt to just go for the neutral flat grip. I thought that was good. You can get it without any sort of jimping on the back. I figured I'd stick with the jimping on the back, but I minus the jimping on the front. So you could add jimping on the I guess the bottom of the scale, however you want to look at that. You could add jimping there. I did not want to get that. I did want the lanyard hole. I'm probably not going to put a lanyard on this, but I don't mind having the lanyard hole there. It gives me the option of putting a lanyard if I want to put a bead on this knife or something like that. So I did say, yeah, let's go ahead and keep the lanyard hole. But I did have a delete done on the left-hand side clip spot. So normally you would see a spacer, a la Hinderer or something like that right there. where you would have you would have like a filler tab, but just a steel filler tab and a couple of big screws in there, kind of those raised screws that you would see on this side, and I did not opt for that. So it's more clean on the show side, and then the obviously the clip side is basically unchanged. I even like the clip. That was kind of a point of contention with this knife. The clip didn't, I think it's just the polymer. I don't mind the clip with the aluminum scales. I don't think it's an issue at all. I think the clip is just fine now. The strength issues that some people have had of it bending out and everything else, I mean, that remains to be seen. That, of course, hasn't been changed just because the scales have been changed. But I don't mind the clip on this anymore as configured. Yeah, really satisfied with this. The Cerakote, we'll see how it holds up. It's already getting a couple of spots. Might be kind of hard to see. Right there is a spot. And right there is a spot, pretty tiny. And there's a couple, almost inconsequential spots. So we'll see how the Cerakote holds up over time, whether it wears or chips or something like that. I would definitely prefer to see it wear and kind of fade out as opposed to chip, but we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure. Couldn't say. A word of caution taking this knife apart. I did need to use heat in order to loosen up the pivot. Microtech uses a lot of red Loctite. I wish they wouldn't, but they do. This one, the show side pivot, I was able to loosen up. I don't know what the story is with this back pivot or the lock side pivot. It did get chewed up. Unfortunately, I was really careful, but I still ended up stripping it out. I can still get the bit in there. I have Weehaw tools, and I'm able to get a T20 in there and hold it still, but I did kind of chew it out a little bit and gouge it up. So it is not in pristine condition anymore, that one right there. The T8s were no problem, but the pivot screw, I don't know if this is even supposed to come loose, because inside the pivot utilizes a barrel pivot. So it's not like this and the actual barrel itself are one piece. Like you see in a lot of knives, it's screw, screw, barrel. At least that's what it appears to be. But this is welded in there so well with either red Loctite or however they're doing it, or maybe it is one piece, I don't know, that don't try to loosen that up. You will just have to kind of pop the housing off. And the pivot itself, it's not a D pivot, but it does have a slight indentation or a slight flat spot in it on the edge, which allows the housing to stay on there and kind of lock into place. And you need to pop that housing off. Once you get the top piece off, you should be able to get, you can obviously, then you can take the bearing off, and then the blade, and then get the other piece of housing, slide that right off, and the pivot will just come right out once you get that top piece off. So just word of caution, don't try to muscle the lock side pivot too much. At least that's what it was in my experience. But yeah, to kind of wrap it up, overall, very satisfied with Original Goat. Don't know if I'll ever be getting in on one of their pre-orders again. It did take about 4 months to get here. Just know, anytime you do a pre-order, it's kind of par for the course. Delays are going to happen. I'm glad it came when it did, and it wasn't delayed beyond Blade Show or anything like that. But it did take about 4 months for the scales to actually come in. So don't know if I'll do a pre-order from them again, but no problems, no qualms whatsoever with their quality. They make an excellent product, and I would definitely recommend Original Goat scales to anybody who is looking to change or upgrade the scales on their knife. That's going to do it for me. Appreciate everybody who's subscribing. Go ahead and drop a comment in the comments section. Share this video out there, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.